Alrighty, guys. It is 3:30. It is Monday, May 4th. Time to wrap it up. And okay, so we had a couple of rotations to the downside starting off. This morning, we stayed range bound. We're still favoring the long side of the market. Looking to buy weakness. We never got above the London high on the ES 7270s. Never got above that. We kind of just held in the range for most of the morning, and then suddenly we had a couple of pretty good rotations to the downside. We didn't really follow through, but it definitely got you going, got you going for a while, that's for sure. The factory orders number came out at 1.5, better than expected this morning at 10. Tomorrow morning we get more news. We have international trade, we have PMI, new home sales, ISM services, and job openings all coming out tomorrow. So overall, I would say that we have backed off the highs, not necessarily in any fashion which would get you concerned. If you look at capital flow, so we backed off a little bit. We cut off the buying at 7,300. We backed off a bit. We'll be down here testing the 7,200s and back off from there. So a couple of scares on the downside there. And definitely as to start taking out the 7,230s this morning. Just staying on the short side at that point was the smart move. They've been kind of pushing it to the downside and fine. Then they kind of ran out of gas halfway through it and started just kind of going sideways. So I would say we're starting off range bound still. As long as they hold above these two support areas, the 7220s and 7210s, I would still favor the long side of the market. We'll see. I think there's some tech earnings coming out after the close. We'll see if they're going to drive the market one way or the other. But when it looks like this, sideways, back and forth, it's very difficult to do much. It is pretty sloppy trading at that point. And when it looks like this, when it starts taking off as it did this morning, it's kind of sloppy this morning, just grinding to the upside. That's the momentum started picking up on the downside. I tried one long trade on the ES there, got out of it for ES $6. And because I was still thinking long side of the market, so I kind of missed the whole move down here. The chop area here definitely tradable, but from the short side that is. After that retest failure did not turn into a big rally to the upside or snapback. That's kind of what gave you the hint. Now, initially, buying it down here at the 20s, I would not do that. That's too aggressive. After the first rotation fails to the upside, they retest that low. Second rotation fails and they start taking out the low. At that point, when this starts happening, that's when you have an inkling that, yeah, we're probably not going to retrace back to the mean right away. At that point, you have a shot at getting short against this rotation, potentially against that rotation for a potential move down. Now, how big that move is, I would just trade it down to the lower end of the channel. I wouldn't go for anything bigger than that because you never know if they're going to just churning or where they're going to go. So it happened to be a big move after that, but unless you were in the trade and didn't take your profit, I would not expect a move like that. So, but definitely tradable. And so far they haven't really. So from that low, they have been just drifting higher, as you can see. They haven't really taken out the lows, but been drifting back up here towards mode for sure. They're not quite up to the mean yet, and they're just kind of holding there. So I would start off range bound. If anything, I would look for potential retest of these lows in the overnight, but I would look to buy against those areas for rotations back up again. So I'm thinking still we're in a good spot to trade higher. And since we were making new highs Thursday, Friday, I figured not completely surprising that we're going to get a little bit of profit taking eventually, or an attempt to scare out some week long positions. And the Nasdaq, same story there. They were actually they made new highs in the overnight. We could not make it go out of it. Also backed off pretty good from the highs, but it hasn't really turned into anything alarming. So they made the new highs in the overnight. They backed off a bit. They're trading still at very good levels. So we'll see if these tech earnings coming out after the close is going to have a driver, positive or negative, on this. Now, if they get up above this area, the 800s, I would definitely stay on the long side. And right now, I'm just leaning long, starting off range bound. I'm going to adjust this edge up here towards the to the 700s. I'm going to one here at the 660s and one down here at the 600s as well. And I'm looking to buy against those rotations back up again. So I'm still technically on the long side of this, even if we got the pretty good move to the downside here. Kind of scary for a sec there, but I did take one Nasdaq trade, got shaken out of that promptly. That was a trade over here. That was a short trade as they were taking this lower. I had a pretty good move going. They retraced back up again, stopped me out. You see, they went quite a bit higher as well before they started heading lower. So the only way to protect yourself from that, I mean, I have a 40 tick break even, which is kind of aggressive, but it kind of implies that if it goes and you're on that and you have a little bit of momentum, you won't rotate back 40 ticks if you're in a good spot. If it's normal, they take it a little bit lower, start retracing, well, chances are you're going to get shaken out of it. If you want to be safe, you move your stop a little bit back from that break even, and then take the shot at potentially getting stopped out at a loss instead. That's very frustrating if that happens, but you can see the Nasdaq's up here at the mean, bouncing around so far, and I think they have I think it's Palantir reporting after the close. We'll see. That's going to be a big thing for the AI stocks. So, but I haven't tried to trade this swap. It is tempting, but it's not really moving a whole lot. It's just kind of drifting back and forth. And you get a nice little rally, and then knocked it straight down. So it's tradable, but if you're on the wrong side, you try to buy something like that, or you kind of get short against the mean, they kind of run you higher than you want to. So it's kind of sloppy in that sense. So just going sideways. So unless you want to be aggressive, I wouldn't trade it. If you have a better looking channel, I would try it, but it's not quite there. They bounced off the mean here, can back down, not to any obvious level. Back up here, run the stops above that one, and then knocked it down hard. So it's just difficult to trade that stuff. The time you get too aggressive in moves like this is when you lose your account. That's kind of usually what happens. When you trade in, no matter what you do, you get on the wrong side of the trade, and that's because the market is not getting moving, just kind of flopping around. So it's just a guessing game at that point. Anyway, so 2 trades, not much to show for. $6 on one, $1 and shake out on the other one. I'm trying very hard to be patient and wait for the trade instead of trying to make up the trade. You know what I mean? When you try to look for the trade, you're kind of talking yourself into a trade doesn't exist, and that's not what you need to do. Anyway, the bond market took a nice leg lower, bigger than I thought it would be. They took out the 12/16s below, and after that, basically staying on a short side from that spot. I did not try to take it. I don't like to hop on the go with type of trade on the bonds. It usually is it doesn't move this very often. Most of the time it's just in a range bouncing back and forth. So you want to get long against the outer edges. But when it moves like this, especially when you have a little rotation down in the morning like that, that gives you a sense that, okay, maybe you had to be a little bit cautious about it. I can see now, like the 4-bar setup up here before the London close. I did not see that quite. And it's earlier on here, but that would have been a potential trade, a short trade there. But then again, I talked myself out of these trades. Then it moves like this, I didn't want to get engaged. Usually on a pullback like this, getting short, it's doable. You can certainly try a trade like that. But after the fact, it's easy, right? Usually, since they go range bound, usually they don't go anywhere. They just kind of go sideways from here. So this is a little bit unusual. And on the cryptos, I did a few trades on the crypto. I had an oil trade this morning, didn't go anywhere. I just got stopped out on that. It was supposed to be a break-even trade on those cryptos, but the freaking oil trade, and you can tell that's the issue when it's a little bit light like this. I had a +6 break-even, and they stopped me out at -6. I had a 12-tick slippage on that trade. That's just a function of it being a lightly traded market, it's kind of thin. Now I did a few trades on the Bitcoin. Got in on a pretty good trade here. I had a few trades early on, was sloppy, terrible trading. So I had 3 losers in a row there. It's like, what the hell? And then finally got on the right side of it, and then managed to get a little bit lucky. Managed to get in the big run down here, and I got out at the bottom. So I turned a $16, $20 loss into an $8 winner instead. And then you can see it's not a whole lot of, the dollar amounts are not big, but it moves pretty good. So, but you can always trade larger size to get bigger P&L numbers. Anyway, so that's the crypto. So I net up for the day on the cryptos, but I stopped trading it after that. But it was moving pretty good this morning. So back to the ES and the Nasdaq, and I said, so I was starting off range bound, watching the announced earnings coming out tomorrow. I said sorry, after the close, and then see how that's going to impact the stuff for tomorrow. But we have some news going into for tomorrow morning, so we'll best get ready to go at this all over again. So, alrighty, guys, we leave it there, and I'll see you back at 8:05 in the morning. Have a good evening later.